What's going on, guys? Stefan, S&E's Garage. Today we're going to be bench testing the starters that we have for a 2013 Kawasaki STX 15F. Here we have two starters that are both in much better condition than the starter that is on the motor that we sourced for it. So what we're going to go ahead and do is bench test both of these, and we're going to be using jumper cables here connected to our 07 Camry. That should give this thing plenty of power. We just want to make sure that the starter that we are going to end up using will crank the engine before we bolt it on, because otherwise we'd be wasting some time. And then I'm going to show you exactly how to change the engine on, or the starter on one of these engines. Now, I did recently do a video on removing the intake and exhaust manifolds, and to get to the starter you are going to have to remove the intake manifold because it's over here on the intake side of the engine. So if you need to see how to remove your intake manifold, you can go ahead and watch that video. I'll link it down below. But once we get, the intake off, it's going to be the same process. So let's get you set up here on the tripod, and we're going to bench test these starters, and we're going to find out if they're good. If they're good, I'm going to use one of them. I'm going to keep the other one for a spare. So let's test them out. All right, so the first thing you're going to want to do here is connect your negative jumper lead here to a good ground on the starter. So you'll see we just connected it right to the case, and we're going to take our positive lead here and we're just going to tap it on the positive post. And if the starter is good and we have a good ground, which I'm going to double check, this engine should, or this starter should spin, and it's going to spin rather violently because these starters are made for torque. Okay, so you'll see here we have a good starter. Now we are also going to test this one. We're going to do the same thing. Negative lead first. Going to connect it. Positive cable here. Alright, so we have two good starters here. So we're going to keep this one here as a spare. You'll see somebody broke the negative lead bolt out on this one. This one is still good. We can take this off. So let's go ahead inside. We're going to swap the starter out, and then we're going to move the car up a little bit, and we're going to see if we can, make sure this thing's going to crank the engine. So let's get in the garage and swap the starter out. Now, like I said, I do have a video up on removing the intake manifold on one of these engines out of the jets, or inside of the jet ski. So if you need to watch that to see how to remove yours, go ahead and do that. All we have here is two 10mm bolts here and here, and then you have your positive and negative leads. I'm just going to leave these leads on this starter because I have a good set of leads in the jet ski that this engine is going to be going into. So we're just going to go ahead here and remove this 10mm bolt. It's got some Loctite on it from the factory. We're going to remove this ground so it's not in our way, because it is kind of in our way. And then we're going to remove this 10mm bolt. Once they are out of the way, you're simply going to take your pry bar and put it in between the engine block and the starter, and you're just going to wiggle the starter loose. You'll see it starting to move like so. Okay, and just like that, the starter's out. So now I'm just going to cut this zip tie here to free this starter from this wire harness. Like so. And I know this starter works, so it is going to be a good starter to keep around for, emergencies. But I just want to put the nicer starter in there. So let me go grab that starter. We're going to slide it in the hole, and then we're going to use those jumper leads. We're going to make sure this engine cranks with the new starter in. Alright guys, so here we have our new starter. One thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your SPS lubricant, and you're going to want to lube these O-rings on the front of the starter. I already went ahead and did that. If you go on my Amazon affiliate store, I'm going to link it down below. You'll see all of the products that we use on our watercraft. This is one of them. I love this stuff. So in order to get the starter in, you're going to want to have it angled kind of, the back of it facing down. You're going to get the gear in and then you're going to come up next to the oil cooler, and you're just very carefully going to work this in, and you're going to want to wiggle it a little bit to line those gears up. But once we get the starter lined up, we're just going to go ahead, put our bolts in, 1 and 2, like so. We're going to get them started, and then we're going to run them down, like so. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and get our cables. We're going to make sure this engine cranks. Alright guys, so we went ahead and moved our car up a little bit. We got our cables here. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to go positive on the new starter. I'm just going to go ahead and click it to ground. Alright, and you'll see that it does crank. So we're good. We know that starter's going to work, and all is well. Oh wow. The oil pump was pumping out a little bit of oil while I did that. That's pretty cool. So we know it's got good oil pressure too. But alright, if this video helped you replace the starter on your Kawasaki STX 15F, please like, share, subscribe. See you next time.